After 20 years of painting basically the same way, I threw everything out of the window. I started this piece from zero. No rules, no comfort zone, basically nothing. I painted like a beginner, and it felt insanely good. Watch what happened. Yeah, today's video is going to be very different from what you're used to seeing on my channel, and honestly very different from what I'm used to painting. For years, I relied on the same techniques, the same layered process I teach, defend, and trust. It's comfortable, predictable, and safe. But the truth is, when you stay in your comfort zone too long, you stop growing. And that thought hit me very hard. So I made a decision. What happens if I stop relying on everything I know and push past the edge of my own habits? What happens if I paint like a beginner again? Okay, so I chose a subject I've never painted before, an extinct prehistoric bird. I love paleo art, but somehow I never created a full paleo reconstruction of my own. So I challenged myself to finally do it. No rules, no safety net, just the idea. I began by transferring the drawing onto a pure white panel. No umber underpainting, no imprimatura, nothing to lean on. Painting directly on white is tricky, because every color instantly looks darker than it is. Even white feathers appear gray next to the bright panel. So the only thing I could trust was my experience and my neutral gray palette. To anchor the painting, I started by blocking in the darkest shadows. Once you establish the darkest darks, it becomes much easier to judge every other value. It gives you the full range to work within and acts like a map for all the color mixing that follows. Even though the creature is extinct, I didn't want to invent everything blindly. I studied similar living birds to find believable shapes and details. The eye was inspired by an eagle. Some of the feather patterns came from the secretary bird, a distant cousin in a way. These references helped me keep the reconstruction grounded in reality without relying on a strict photo reference. The background on the right side is pushed into darkness. I wanted strong contrast to make the white feathers shine. On the plain white surface they looked almost dull, but once the deep values went in, everything suddenly came to life, exactly as I expected. This painting will have 2 layers. Yes, I could have done it alla prima, but I love realism and fine detail, and for that, a second pass on a dry surface works best. Even when I paint more directly, I almost always use at least 2 color layers. Before we continue, let me give you a quick reminder. If you enjoy videos like this and want to go deeper into the process, you can join my Patreon. There you'll find the extended version of this video, plus dozens of extra tutorials, behind-the-scenes materials, color mixing guides, and a lot more content that I don't post anywhere else. You'll also get access to my full library, where I keep all my step-by-step lessons, reference materials, and long-form demos. So if you want to support my work and get even more painting knowledge, feel free to check it out and join today. So this first stage works as the initial color underpainting. And then there's the surface itself, another big change for me. I've always searched for a smooth, high-quality support. I tried fine canvases or ACM panels, for example. But this is my very first time painting on a wooden panel. It's beautifully smooth, perfect for tiny details later, but the paint also slides more than on canvas. Even opaque colors sometimes struggle to cover, so I use that to my advantage. I worked with criss-cross brush strokes, letting the white ground shine through just enough to give the colors an inner glow. The white, in a way, becomes its own kind of optical imprimatura. I especially love the warm upper left corner. The transparent layers there almost shimmer, and I'm not planning to paint over it in the final layer. Because the gesso surface absorbs the paint quickly, everything dried much faster than with a traditional layered process. After a few days, I could continue without worrying about smudging anything. It sped up the entire workflow and made the whole experience surprisingly fresh. So this painting is more than just a prehistoric bird. It's a reminder that if you want to grow, As an artist or as a person, you sometimes have to drop your habits, step into the unknown, and trust yourself enough to learn again. Okay friends, the first layer is dry, and I'm moving on to the second color layer. And this is the moment when the whole painting finally begins to transform right in front of your eyes. That first layer was just the roadmap, establishing values, basic color direction, and figuring out how this prehistoric bird would even sit on the panel. Now that the foundation is set, the real fun can begin. Before adding any paint, I need to bring the surface back to life. As oil paint dries, it becomes matte, loses saturation, and the brush doesn't glide the way I want. So I start with a very thin oiling out layer, just a 50-50 mix of linseed oil and OMS. I wipe it on lightly, let it rest for a moment, then remove almost all of it. Too much oil makes the surface slippery, so this is definitely a less is more moment. With the surface revived, the second layer becomes all about refinement and precision. I'm no longer figuring out where the lights and shadows go. That structure is already in place. Now I'm shaping the soft transitions between them. On the head, the neck, around the eye. Those gentle shifts in value are what give the form its depth and real three-dimensional feel. I push the value range further, deepening the shadows and lifting the highlights, especially on the feathers. Here I use slightly brighter tones to make the feathers truly read as white. The roughness of the first pass slowly disappears. Colors unify, tones connect, and the painting starts to look clean and realistic instead of patchy and uncertain. This is also where I fine-tune the color palette. Because the whole surface is filled, comparisons are much easier. I can instantly tell where to add warmth, where to tone something down, or where saturation needs a boost. It's basically the tuning stage where everything starts to click together. While painting this layer, I'm constantly balancing thin translucent strokes with thicker, more decisive ones. The trick is to apply rich paint without burying what's underneath, letting the lower layer glow through just enough to add depth. The same applies to the shadows. I darken them carefully, like on the beak, where cast shadows fall. Deepening the darks and lifting the lights stretches the value range to its full potential and adds impact. At this point, the bird is essentially complete, and after letting the layer dry for a few days, I move on to the final stage, glazing. Before that, I also finished the background, intentionally soft and slightly abstract. I needed a deep contrasting tone on the right side to push the brightness of the feathers forward, so I suggested a dark forest there. Everything in the background is blurred and atmospheric, no sharp edges, nothing crisp. The softer the background becomes, the more the bird pops forward and gains that 3D illusion of space. Once everything dried, I moved on to glazing, the stage where the feather texture really comes alive. In the second layer, I painted the feathers with thicker strokes, leaving tiny ridges and valleys between them. Now I could use those. I oiled out the head again, wiped it down, and brushed a dark transparent glaze over the feathered areas, a mix of umber, a bit of transparent red, and some ultramarine. I let it sit for a moment and then wiped it back gently with a dry cloth. The glaze settles into the recesses and lifts from the raised highlights, bringing out depth and texture that only appears when light hits the surface. After repeating this in a few areas, the character of the feathers felt complete, and with that, the entire painting was finished.